Well, good Saturday afternoon. It's about 4:56 right now on this Saturday. I am student forecaster Stephen Boyle for Northeast Weather Center. Well, it's been a chilly several weeks here. March has been a very cold month. Very, very cold. And not warm at all. Um, I'm telling you, so, this winter pattern is very strong right now, and basically, this is not going to be getting broken until at least the second or the third week of April. It's going to take a while for this to break. We may have, and I think normally what happens here with these sorts of patterns, normally when you have normally when you have a very strong pattern like this, what it takes is an extremely strong storm to break the pattern. And that's what's probably going to happen sometime around the beginning of April, is what I'm expecting. There may even be another storm after that. So there will be more snows in through portions of the Northeast. Although right now we do have winter storm watches out and winter storm warnings out for folks who live in Ohio, portions of southwest Pennsylvania, and also portions of West Virginia. Um, this storm will not be affecting folks up into these regions, particularly southern New England, northern New England, and even northern parts of the mid-Atlantic, the Poconos, northeast Pennsylvania, and northern New Jersey. This will not be affecting those folks, and if they are affected, it will be with very light snow accumulation. Again, though, there could be some upslope snows into the Poconos. There is a slight probability that possibly these folks in here could possibly be talking about up to 6 inches, especially in the higher ridge tops of Northeast PA. So we're gonna have to kind of watch out for that, and there may actually be some winter storm watches that may be needed, especially for the Poconos area. Lower elevations, if there is snow, there would probably be up to 4 inches, according to most models right now. But again, the new Euro came in and it was with a lot less snow, so it might have to kind of see what happens with that. But there is a winter weather advisory into portions of Vermont as well. There's some lake effect snow bands coming off of New York today, and some of these bands are actually reaching into Vermont, and therefore there's also some upsloping as well. Therefore, some of these folks are talking about a little bit of snow with possibly up to 6 inches into some of the highest of the elevations in Vermont. There we go. So this upcoming storm will not be a very good 95 corridor event. Actually, let me rephrase that. If this storm were to have happened back in January or February or December, we would definitely be talking about a major snowstorm for folks who live along the I-95 corridor. Folks who live in southern Jersey, Philly, down into Washington, D.C. But because of the fact that we're in early spring, we are in late March, and because of the fact that because of the configuration that this storm will have, not looking like a good situation for people who like snow into southern portions of Jersey, Philly, and Washington, D.C., or the Delmarva. Areas who live north and west of I-95 are going to be in a prime spot for the snow. And that is basically going to be what happens with every single snow event from this moment onward, until we break this pattern. Okay, I-95 is not going to get any more snow, and if they do get snow, it will be on the back side of the storm when we have colder air rushing in, and basically the prime time for folks in these areas to get snow accumulations will be when the sun goes down. But again, it's when areas north and west of I-95 are in the greatest risk of some snow over the next couple of weeks. Now, with this storm, this is, like I said, going to be being shunted south of the New England area. All right, so now let's look at the current radar imagery, and there we go. Let me just update this just in case. All right, so there is a pretty heavy band of snow into central Vermont right now. There's also some heavy bands up into northern New York. There's some very, very light bands going through northern New York, probably just a few flurries. There's some scattered snow showers and flurries going through south central New York right now from lake effect. There's also some upslope and snows into New Hampshire. Nothing really major into here nor into here. Alright, so where is our storm? Well, it is back out here. And actually, there's some pretty heavy snow. These folks are seeing snow right now into southern Nebraska and Kansas. These guys, though, are getting absolutely pummeled with snow right now. These folks are seeing snowfall rates of at least 1 inch an hour, with localized areas of 2 inches an hour, maybe even close to 3 inches into some of these yellow bands in here. Definitely very heavy snows. Localized areas could see up to over a foot of snow, but most areas 6 to 12 inches when you live basically in through areas in here. 1 to 3 inches mostly into these areas and also into these areas. So they're in 3 to 6 basically right in here. Okay, but basically there will be, but basically if you live into these areas, especially these areas, 6 to 12 inches, and this storm is going to eventually come up north. And this area of precip is also going to sort of get pulled into this bout of energy, and basically we could be talking about some pretty significant accumulations into central Ohio and also West Virginia as well. Also, we have this batch of precip that's starting to blossom up a little bit, which could also add to some people's accumulations. Also, we have this area of energy. This is interesting. This will most likely, though, get pulled offshore. All right, but if some of this can get pulled up into the other storm, we could be talking about some very intense stuff here. But most likely, this will basically go offshore, not affecting anybody. But it will be interesting to see what happens with this band of heavy thunderstorms. Again, the thunderstorms will weaken as it moves northward, because again, you have cold air and more stable air that will definitely get rid of these reds and oranges. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with this band as it moves northward, and if it sticks together, and if it does, then we could be talking about some very interesting snows, particularly into West Virginia and the mountains of Virginia, where some areas, if things come together, we could be talking about these folks in here getting maybe close to 20 inches of snow. But again, it's all up on what happens with this, with the whole storm itself. So yeah, that's basically what's going on. So let's check out our models. And again, these models are again courtesy of Weather Bell. Again, these are not my models. These are courtesy of Weather Bell. All right, NAM. Let's check out the NAM. This is the new NAM. Earlier, the 12Z run was showing an absolute major snowstorm from basically Washington, D.C. all the way into Connecticut. However, that is definitely different with the 18Z run. All right, so here we go. Okay, here is our storm. This is basically tomorrow morning, or late tonight, tomorrow morning. And you can see some of our snows are starting to enter into Indiana, also northern Kentucky. Again, clear conditions across most of the area, maybe some clouds extending up into these areas, but folks up into New England are going to have nice sunshine. So sunshine expected tomorrow, maybe a few passing clouds, but for the most part, the clouds should be south of this line, and sunshine north of that line. Okay, so this is tomorrow, and then of course we run into here comes the storm. The precip starts right in Northwood, and we have a very intense band, very intense band going on into southern Ohio. The question is will it be cold enough for folks into these areas to see major amounts of snow? And I do think that these guys will see all snow with this. And again, we also have some snow being uh, moving on into portions of West Virginia. And again, this area is along I-95. Okay, areas along I-95 will not see any snow. Again, south of I-78, okay, you're in a good position. So all these areas are in a very good position for some snow. Also, these areas in here as well, not to mention. So basically, you have I-80, and then you also have I-95. So basically, if you live along south of I-80 and west of I-95, you're in a very good spot to see some potential snows with this storm. But along and east of I-95, these folks are not going to be in a very good setup for any snow. Because again, as this storm rides northward, if I can get my, as this storm rides northward, okay, there's going to be an onshore flow, okay. Basically, all the snow will be back out in here with and because we have this onshore flow, even though that thermals in the upper levels support snow, because we have this onshore flow, it'll definitely warm temps up in through these areas. So these folks in here will be all rain or a mix. And if we do see snow, it will be mainly on the back side of the storm that we see any snowfall. And again, as this storm continues to push out, these guys are finally ending the storm here. Back out in here, we're still in the height of the storm along the coast of the Delmarva and coast of New Jersey. And then there we go. We finished things off. And again, Philly may get a coat into an inch of snow, finishing off the storm on the backside. Alright, so that is the NAM. Let's look at now the GFS. And this actually the 18Z is starting to come out, but I don't think it's starting yet. I don't think it's up to many hours yet. Oh, it is, I guess. All right, so this is the new. Oh no, this is the 12. This is the 12Z. Never mind. Here is the 12Z run of the GFS. Okay. And again, here is those thunderstorms down in Florida. There is this heavy snow that's going on into parts of Missouri. Again, these guys in here are definitely going to be getting pummeled by severe weather, and you saw that on the current radar imagery. Now, so here's what's going on. All right. Basically, according to the GFS, we have this storm riding northward. We have this secondary low pressure back out in here moving like this. This low pressure is kind of moving up like this. Okay. So again, folks who generally live in here are at best potential to see significant snowfall accumulation. All right. Again, it moves into West Virginia, and again, West Virginia is going to absolutely get pounded with snow. And again, that moves out, and so basically you can see West Virginia is the one that gets affected the most, not areas along I-95. And again, you can see the reason why is we have this low right in here. We have an onshore flow. All right, that is, and again, the waters on the, on the ocean are warm. warmer than, than what the actual surface temperature is. That's going to bring in some of your warmer air, and therefore these folks along the I-95 corridor and along the coast are not going to see any snowfall. Okay, so that does include Philly, that includes southern Jersey, that includes the Delmarva Peninsula, and that also includes Washington, D.C., coastal Virginia. Okay, but again, if this was back in January or February, this could have been a very major snowstorm for people from Philly and into southern Jersey. But again, this is going to be mainly rain with maybe a little bit of mixin', and again, maybe a little bit of backside snow. And that moves out. And basically, this very cold, very, trophy pattern is going to continue. And until this block breaks, we're not going to see any warmth at all. The warmest it'll get for highs during the day will maybe be at best 50 degrees in through New England, 40s in through northern New England, and into the mid-Atlantic, the mid-50s, which is below average for this time of the year. We are not going to be seeing many 50s into southern New England, although definitely mainly 40s. And right now, here is a situation. There is and again, this goes out to 192 hours, but if you look at a GFS model that goes out to 384 hours, and you check out the 6Z run, there's a very, very major storm that comes up, okay? Now, the 6Z run does show rain. However, I don't think it will be rain just due to the fact of how much blocking we have and basically how much cold air we're going to have to work with, okay? Now, by this time, the block will be weakened a little, but not completely. It'll be weakened enough to where that the storm that possibly forms down in here will be able to ride up the coast and really, really affect folks who live away from I-95 yet again, and this time up into New England, the potentials of seeing a very significant snowstorm. Again, this is far out. This is and that would happen the beginning of April. But again, we're going to have to sort of see what happens with this. It could be even a potential blizzard for folks who live into these areas. Is it going to happen? I don't know yet. It's still very far out. We still have a good couple weeks or week and a half until that happens. But again, it's something to keep an eye on, and definitely something I will be tracking. Canadian. Let's look at the Canadian. And earlier in the week, the Canadian was actually showing this thing to be this upcoming storm to be very, very major and even significant for folks who live farther to the north. But here is our storm, okay? And basically, you can see the farthest north that it gets is central Jersey, central PA, central Ohio. This is the farthest north that it gets. It could ride a little bit more north, but for the most part, doesn't show much of anything. And actually, it does ride a little bit more north into portions of Ohio, northern PA. But for the most part, the heaviest of the precip is going to be staying into these areas. Okay, these will be the regions that see the heaviest snowfall. And again, very heavy, possibly some fairly heavy rain along the I-95 corridor, or a very heavy mix. We're going to have to sort of see what happens with that. All right, and then there goes the storm. Now, if imagine if this were to go a little bit farther to the north. Imagine how intense this would be for folks who lived into New England and the northern parts of the mid-Atlantic. But again, because of the blocking that we have, you can actually see the southern extent of this block. All right, if this block were a little bit farther to the north, this would have been allowed to go a little bit farther to the north as well, and this could have been very significant for all those people. But it's just not looking like that solution is going to happen. The NAM was showing a solution like that earlier on, but I did not really buy it, and the NAM now doesn't buy it either. So that's the Canadian. Let's look at the Euro finally, and this is my favorite model. This, as everybody probably knows, there's no doubt that the Euro has been very, very good with this upcoming storm. I'm actually going to look at this. Let's look at this. So basically, this will be actually the total snowfall is what I'm going to be showing you. Actually, before I show you that, let's actually show you precipitation and 2-meter temperature. Alright, so here we go. Okay, this is at hour 6, and basically, here's the major problem. Alright, as a storm comes in, alright, as the storm comes in, this is at hour 30. We'll move here to hour 36. Here's our major problem. Okay. Here's our 32-degree line right here. All right. Folks who live south of this 35-degree line, and actually even folks who live in here, are going to be in a very, very tough position for this particular storm. Again, these areas are in the best locations for this storm to really affect you with some good snows. Okay, folks who live away from and notice how this 35-degree line is headed northward. Okay. Now, let's go back here. It's got to load for a minute. Okay, so here's our 30. And notice how by hour 42, okay, even though that, Washington, D.C. is in between that 35 and 32-degree line, you have to also remember how warm the surface is into these areas. It's fairly warm. It is definitely not cold at all into the Washington, D.C. area. However, these folks back out in here, even though that the 35-degree line may be close to these guys, remember, these guys are in more hillier, mountainous terrain. Therefore, these guys are a little bit more susceptible to see these sorts of snows. And again, what I also want to point out is notice this, even though that some of these folks in here, they may be in not the best of all areas, you're also going to have a little bit of dynamic cooling going on in here as well, because you have very heavy precip, and when you have very heavy precip, it's allowed to bring down the colder air from the upper levels, which and they're also on the northwestern quadrant of the storm as well, which is, yet again, that is the most ample part of the storm to be on, while these folks in here, they're more on the eastern edge of the storm, which is not a good place to be in. So again, here's hour 48, and you can see that eventually the storm moves out, and for the most part, it doesn't look like there could be a little bit of something that might move through, like a little bit of a shortwave system that moves through the Northeast and New England, maybe given some snow showers, but nothing major. It looks like, according to the Euro, up to hour 240. But for right now, it's not looking too significant to me for areas north of I-80 with this particular storm. This upcoming storm here. Let's look at snowfall now. Alright, let's look at what the snowfalls are for all of these different models. We'll start off with the Euro. Alright, now, here we go. Alright, this is up to hour 114. Alright, so basically we have significant snowfall accumulation into West Virginia and central PA. This is really where I am the most confident, as well as these folks back out in here. This is really where I'm the most confident for significant snowfall accumulation. I am somewhat confident that these guys in here will see some snowfall accumulation. When I say some, I mean maybe up to 6 inches of snow. Alright, but these guys in here will definitely be talking about a very major snowstorm. Over 12 inches is definitely very probable. Alright, now, here is the I-95 corridor. At best, maybe a tenth of an inch of snow, but nothing really major for these folks. Alright, now there is this major hole in here. That is because there's going to be a transfer of energy. Alright, there's going to be one area of low pressure here. There's going to be another area of low pressure here. Eventually, it tries to become one. It will become one storm, and it'll all move out like this. Okay, so where that transfer occurs will be definitely where this major hole is going to be. And I do believe that this is the area that gets into that hole, snow hole, I guess you could say. Alright, so for the most part, areas that are in here will be definitely in the best locations for snow. And again, like I said, into the Poconos, which is into here, they are in a very good location for snowfall. Because again, there will be some upsloping as well, potentially, into these areas. Okay, northern New Jersey, maybe into some parts of Connecticut, these areas, they may get up into the 2-inch range, with maybe the 4-inch range maybe coming into extreme western New Jersey. Alright, so that's basically what I'm thinking. That's the Euro. Let's look at the NAM. Or actually, let's look at the GFS. Alright, so again, this is what's good. You know what? Let's not look at the GFS. It's initializing the new models. So let's look at the NAM. All right. So here is the NAM. All right. We're gonna look at its snowfall. So basically, here we go. All right. You can see now again. The NAM is bringing in a very major snowstorm for areas along the I-95 corridor. I am not buying that. Absolutely not. Alright? I am not buying that. I do believe that these guys in here could be talking about a very major snowstorm, as well as these guys in here. But I am not buying a major snowstorm for people who live in here. Alright, that is just, I just don't see that. It doesn't look possible to me because of the onshore flow that these folks are going to be seeing, the onshore flow, the location, and the time of the year. Alright, now, these guys in here will probably see a little bit more snow. Alright, possibly 4 to 6 inches of snow into those areas. Okay, there are winter storm watches out for basically a good chunk of Ohio. Alright, winter storm warnings are out as well. So this is my thoughts on the current models. Alright, let's also take a brief check at the Canadian and its snowfall. Alright, let's just take a brief look at that, and we'll finish off. Here is the most recent run of the Canadian. You can see, alright, although the Canadian is putting out snowfalls for areas along the I-95 corridor, I don't buy it, alright. It just doesn't look probable to me. And if there is snow, and it is an all-snow event, the ratios will be extremely low, so there would be less than what is being progged on here, because this is based on a 10-to-1 snow ratio. Your ratios, if you do get all snow into Philly and Washington, will be extremely low, probably close to a 2 to 5-to-1 ratio event, which is very wet, very slushy, and very, very icky to shovel. So just keep that in mind, alright? But folks in here, get ready for a major snowstorm, and folks who live into New England, don't expect much at all. Areas in northeast Pennsylvania, maybe a light snow. event, maybe up to 2 to 4 inches into the lower elevations. Higher elevations, due to upsloping, may see up to 6 inches. Again, northern New Jersey could see up to 3 to 4 inches, with areas in extreme northern parts seeing a lot less. And that is basically what I'm thinking right now as far as the current models go and what I'm thinking about this upcoming storm. But that's it for now. I will give another update probably a little bit later on tonight with some of the newer models that are coming in, and also tomorrow before the storm hits. Thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a great rest of your Saturday. Take care.